My name is Hannah Dugan, and I'm the coordinator of students here at Crossroads. And we've been studying Hebrews 11, which is known as the Hall of Faith. It's this collection of stories from throughout the scriptures of men and women who took God at his word and committed these remarkable acts of belief. And so we're picking up in verse 30 today. And it says, "It was by faith that the people of Israel marched around Jericho for 7 days, and the walls came crashing down." Now, this short verse covers the narrative that we find in Joshua chapter 6. And that's the story of when God told the children of Israel and their leader Joshua to go and take the fortified city of Jericho. Now, Jericho was this huge walled city, and at the time, Israel was this nation of 2 million refugees. They didn't have any military experience or training, and yet God tells them to take this city. And so the way he told them to do it was not by attacking it, but by walking around it for 6 days, and on the 7th day, to walk around it 7 times, and tell the people to shout. And when the people shouted, the walls came crashing down. They took God at his word. They believed him. And I've been thinking, as we've been studying Hebrews 11, that Hebrews 11 actually reminds me of like the Olympic highlight reels. So like reading through the Old Testament is like watching the Olympics in real time. You know, you're actually there for all of the different heats. You're actually seeing all of the different kinds of sports. You're watching the athletes that do well, the ones that don't do so well. Whereas Hebrews 11 is like the total highlight reel. You're going through and you're like, and they get a medal, and they get a medal, and they did good, and they did so good. And it's really fun to read through. But the difference is that Hebrews 11 is not put together for our entertainment. Faith is not a spectator sport. Hebrews 11 is an invitation to walk in the kind of radical faith that these men and women exhibited in their lifetimes. And Joshua, the leader of the people at this time, it was such a great example of that. I mean, people are cheering for him in Joshua chapter 6, but no one was cheering for him at the beginning of his story. In Exodus 33, Joshua was a teenager that was just Moses' assistant. And we see that when Moses would go out to the tabernacle to meet with God, and the glory cloud would descend, and Moses would talk to God the way that a man talks to his friend, Joshua would wait outside the tabernacle. And even when Moses was finished for the day and he'd go back to the camp, Joshua would stay by the tabernacle because he wanted to be as close to God as he could be. And that kind of devotion wasn't just a one-time event. It wasn't just a phase for Joshua. It went throughout his lifetime. And we see that pattern picking back up in Joshua chapter 5, right before the Battle of Jericho. There's this beautiful section at the end that's a little bit lesser known than like the walls crashing down. We see that Joshua is about to lead all of these people. We can assume he's pretty nervous. You know, he's an adult now. He's leading this nation. Moses is gone. And it's in that dark and scary place that the commander of the armies of the Lord meets Joshua. And Joshua, knowing who he's talking to, falls down in worship and asks the most simple, most beautiful question: "What do you want me to do?" And the commander of the army of the Lord replies, "Take off your shoes, Joshua. You're standing on holy ground." And then there's this beautiful little verse right at the end of Joshua 5 that says, "So Joshua did as he was told." I think sometimes we get the idea that faith is only found in the dramatic moments. And as we've been studying Hebrews 11, what's really striking me is that faith is displayed in those dramatic moments, but it is built in the quiet, private moments of obedience. It's just doing what God told us to do. And Joshua displays that throughout his lifetime. And that's the kind of faith that we've been called to. And we're kidding ourselves if we think that we're just going to wake up one day as these spiritual giants. You know, we're not just going to wake up and be like, oh, today's the day I'm going to go take Jericho. It takes a lifetime of small acts of obedience and devotion to God. You know, the Olympics doesn't take walk-ins, and neither does the Hall of Faith. You know, we are all saved. We are all equal at the cross. But if we want to live that kind of radical life, that kind of amazing existence of faith that I believe we are all called to, that requires us to seek God in the quiet, private moments when no one is cheering, when nobody sees. And this is consistent in the teachings of Jesus. You know, Jesus didn't say, if you love me, you're going to get it right every time. Or if you love me, you're going to be legendary and everyone's going to hear about these incredible acts of faith that you've committed. Jesus said in John 14:15, if you love me, obey my commandments. That's all that's required of us, which is encouraging to me because I don't know about you, but not every single day of my life is this amazing act of faith. It doesn't feel like I'm necessarily always, taking that leap. There are totally moments like that. But in between, there's all these very normal days. So no matter where we are in our life, no matter what season of life we're in, no matter what age we are, we can always take that time to seek the Lord. We can always go before God, open-handed, and ask him, what do you want me to do? And when we receive our answer, may the next line of our story be, and they did what they were told. We really want to hear your stories of what the Lord's doing as we're walking through this fast together, as we're studying Hebrews 11. So you can send your stories to info@crossroadschurch.net. See you tomorrow.